Welcome to the Elevate podcast, brought to you by the Registered Master Builders. Each week we explore the ideas and practices that help us get the best from our businesses, our teams and ourselves. We talk to experts, advocates and business owners in the construction industry to share their knowledge, insights and experiences to help you build a better business and enjoy a better life. Now let the business building begin.
Ankit, welcome along to the Master Builders Elevate podcast, our final episode for the year. 2025 is almost done.
Well, thank you for having me, Ryan, and looking forward to our conversation today.
Fantastic. Now, as you kind of reflect back over the year, Ankit, it's been a lot going on. I know Master Builders has leaned into a lot of initiatives this year. When you kind of reflect on the changes in the building sector this year, what comes to mind?
Well, I think there are three things, if I reflect back, which are changing. So one is industry is going through quite a bit of transition. So we are coming out of quite a significant boom period we had. Then, last couple of years have been pretty tough and we're coming out of that. 25 almost sounded like will be a year where we'll start seeing some recovery. It didn't eventuate. So year started a little bit well, but then we kind of went into a downward slide. So it's been tough, but in the last probably a couple of quarters, it's become steady and things are getting better. So I think that's kind of one transition from a difficult economic time to tough economic time to hopefully some good growth coming into 2026. Government has come in and had quite an ambitious reform program. So they are looking at building and construction, as not having a significant shift for the last 20, 30 years. So they're looking at regulation, red tape, and a lot of feedback from the industry and best practice from overseas to create the right environment so we can, build houses and buildings better, faster, quicker. And so I think that has been quite a significant shift. And what happens with a shift like this is there's a whole, a series of announcements which happen. So there are a lot of announcements which have come through this year. And next couple of years, you'll start seeing some of those changes bedding through. And I think the third one, when I think about the year of change, and I think this is there's a global industry is going through quite a significant change. And I talk about there are four things which are changing, digitisation, decarbonisation, de-globalisation, and demographics. So we are transitioning towards a world where technology will play quite a significant role for all businesses, including, building and construction businesses. So we need to think about what that means as part of that shift. Decarbonization. So I think sustainability expectations are rising and is driven by a little bit by regulation, but a lot of clients are now asking for more sustainable solutions and communities are looking for such solutions. So I think that's a changing shift for us as a sector. De-globalisation. So we are moving from a very global connected world to a very inward-looking, de-globalized world. So what does that mean for New Zealand? We need to think about, becoming more self-reliant on some critical infrastructure, critical services, and that will create more opportunities and challenges for building and construction. And demographics, I think it's quite a big challenge globally and for New Zealand. So we've got a significant aging workforce, and there are a lot of skills which are getting lost when people are retiring. And the new people who are coming in are digitally native and the expectation of engaging with work is quite different. So how do we navigate? And it's not just New Zealand building and construction, it's a global issue. How do we navigate as businesses? So when I look at those, it is a year of transition, but I think it's a year of good transition. So all of these things present huge opportunities for our businesses, to our communities, to New Zealand as a country. So if we can navigate them well, I think the next 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years could be quite prosperous for New Zealand and quite good for our sector.
Indeed. That's a ginormous list with, global ramifications. If you were to maybe hone down into just one of those topics that you feel our members could lean into and maybe start doing something about that, now, maybe while they're sitting on the beach over the Christmas break and going, oh, what could I do to with my business to help improve? Where would you encourage them to start with one of those four?
There's a conversation happening in New Zealand. Do we have a long summer break? Maybe too long. And I don't agree with that. I think you need a break. You can't keep running. So for me, one is make sure we take time to recover recharge, and rebuild. And so I think that's important. So if you're on a beach or you have planned to go on a beach, fantastic. If you don't, you should definitely have a plan to go on some beach somewhere. If there's one thing I think which every business should look for is technology. So technology is changing at a pace where technology companies, if you look at the CEO of Google, Microsoft, Apple, they are saying we don't know where this is going to land, and we don't know the impact some of this technology will have in the way we run our businesses, the way we live our lives. And there's a possibility of both positive and negative impact. So I think as a business owner, understanding what is happening with technology in New Zealand, in the sectors they're operating in, and looking at those opportunities. What are some of those opportunities out there to drive productivity, to reduce costs, and what are some of the risks you need to manage? So I think if I look at one area we could focus on, which could bring huge value to our business, is how do we embed technology into our business, something we are spending a lot of time to, and will continue to provide our members a lot of information. So in Constructive Conference this year, we launched a partnership with PwC, and one of my team members walked into my team today saying the PwC are saying we didn't expect this level of response from building and construction. So they are having to resource up, and they are positively surprised at the level of engagement and interest shown by building and construction businesses. So this year, it's larger businesses who are going through that. We are now working with PwC to have this thinking and solution available for our medium and smaller members. So that will come out next year. So we are doing our bit to make sure best information is available to our members. But in some cases, as a business owner, keeping your eyes open, looking at those opportunities, and working out how you want to implement those within your own business.
Ankit, I'd like to share a real world example. I was talking with a commercial paint contractor a couple of weeks ago, and they do painting for infrastructure, things like underground pipes, and also, related to the construction industry. And I was talking to him about AI and how he was utilizing it in his business. And he said one thing that's been a game changer for us for them is they respond to a lot of RFPs to get work. They were literally taking the RFP document, feeding it into OpenAI's ChatGPT, and saying, can you please pull out all of the relevant information for my estimator to then be able to go and build an estimate around this. And he said that just that one technology, it's in the scheme of things very low tech from having to understand, but he said it was an absolute game changer, saving them hours and hours and hours, just that one simple change. So I share that as an example around, maybe if some of our members are going, oh, I don't know all about this AI thing, I don't know what I could do. There are some really small incremental steps that can make quite a big difference, and you don't have to be a developer to know how to go and do those things. So there's opportunity everywhere.
I agree. Great example.
Okay. I'm going to wonder if we can just circle back to some of the government changes that you highlighted at the beginning. Obviously, the RMA, there's been quite a lot of press around that recently. We won't dive into that one today, but a couple of the others that have come up. Proportionate liability. Can you share a bit about that one and what that means?
Well, I could probably talk about proportionate liability for hours, but I'll do a quick summary. So proportional liability, the core idea is fairness. So in building and construction, if something goes wrong, each party should be responsible for their own contribution. In the current system, the party with the biggest means likely to ends up with taking responsibility for others. So for a builder, if you're a large builder and your subtrades go under and something has gone wrong, ultimately you then become responsible for fixing, architectural issues, design issue, engineering issues, because you may more likely to be the last person standing. So that's a big challenge for master builders who run good businesses. And if the building businesses go under, then councils end up taking on that responsibility in a joint and several system. So government is moving to a proportionate system, which means every party's share of responsibility is the risk they bring to the table, which I think is a much more fair system. And what we need to do is, as we transition from a joint and several system to a proportionate system, which I think is better for the industry, is more transparent and fair, we need to make sure we don't weaken homeowner protection. So currently homeowner gets a protection that if, parties go under, if there's one left over, they are responsible for fixing it. So if you lift industry standards and you put good homeowner protection in place, I think proportionate system has a potential to become a much better system than the joint and several system and how it's operated. Now, master builders, we've had a long-standing position on quality and long-standing position on consumer protection. So, our master build 10-year guarantee, it was very early product. It's been one of the strongest product, and it's backed by good structure, capital, accountability. So what we are doing is, as government is making that transition from a joint and several to proportionate system, we want to make sure that new system almost incentivizes good behavior, incentivizes good businesses instead of penalizing them. A lot of master builders run great businesses, and we want to make sure that consumers don't get left behind. So I think it's a good step in the right direction. We are advocating for a system where businesses who do good job, they get incentivized and they get more business. And also consumers have better protection by lifting the standard, having transparency and other tools than they have in the current mechanism. So if we can get that right, I think proportionate is likely to be a much better system than what we've had for the last 23 years.
Sure. And maybe a slightly technical question, okay, but how is the proportionality calculated? Is it based on the dollar value? So, just for hypothetically, a house costs $100,000. We say there was $10,000 of plumbing in it. Is it as kind of simple as that calculation?
So it's interesting you're asking this question. This is actually quite a good question, which we are not talking about. So because when you have multiple parties from a homeowner perspective, you can now got multiple parties, you could actually be involved in a long litigation process for court to determine where that proportionality lies. So that's how it will happen. So you'll have to take, 5 parties to court and court will decide. So we were having a conversation with Hoban. So this is an association which speaks on behalf of homeowners. And their concern is it will actually make it much harder for homeowners to work out, and it could cost them significantly. And one of the things they are talking about is maybe we have a disputes tribunal, a building disputes tribunal, where you can go in and it's cheap and easy for homeowners to access, or hopefully at no cost for homeowners to access. And dispute tribunal has got experts who got building and construction experience, so they can make a determination on proportionality, and that becomes binding from a law perspective. So we think it's a great idea. So we've been advocating for this solution, which Hoban's are discussing amongst a couple of other options. So I think it's as a part of the system, providing right tools and structures so it doesn't become a long legal process. And as a builder, this is fantastic because most of our builders do a really good job. So if something has gone wrong, they want to understand what is it that they need to do to fix and address it, what their liability is. And something like this, a building dispute tribunal could probably get there a lot quicker so they can get on with it and fix it and move on. And guarantees will play and insurance will play a big role. So in a lot of cases, there's a view that something goes wrong, homeowners go after council. It doesn't happen if you're using a master builder because master builders will go and fix the issue. Or in some cases, when they're unable to do that and homeowners got a master build guarantee, we step in to do that. So insurance and warranties will again provide some relief from the situation.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. It's really helpful. Now let's talk about Phoenix companies. Does this mean we all get a trip to Arizona?
Wouldn't it be great? You'd probably get much better weather than what we are getting in Wellington. So Phoenix companies is a big issue for our sector. And I would like to explain, it's a small number of people who do that. And the damage they leave behind for other small businesses, for sub-trades, for consumers is quite significant. And all it does, it takes the trust out. So all it takes is 2 Phoenix companies to turn up in the news, and consumers are now second guessing and thinking the whole quality of building and construction has gone down. So as we move from a joint and several to proportionate system and start lifting standards, one of the things we are saying is we need to address this Phoenix company behavior, which is basically means that company fails and then they reappear in a new name as the same people, as the same behavior, and no consequence. Whereas what we want is a system where if something goes wrong, there's an opportunity for people to fix the issue. There are consequences. And when you have consequences, when something goes wrong, that means you're also rewarding good behavior. So the businesses who run really good businesses, they're reducing their chances of failure. They get rewarded and they get recognized. So I think it's important for us to address that Phoenix company issue. We've looked at a lot of solutions and government has looked at a lot of solutions. So I think what we are saying is one of the simpler solution could be that we set up a national building companies register. So if you're a builder, you want to undertake building over 100K, you have to register with MB. And once you're on that register pulls all existing government data, company's office information, liquidation information, court information in one place. So consumers can then go and before they pick a builder, they can put the name of the builder and it'll tell you the history of that company and history of any directors which are part of that company. So if they've been involved in any liquidation, court cases, it'll be transparently available for the consumers. We are saying to government, along with that, I think you can also attach credit information. I mean, for a lot of master builders, we are making that information available. So when you do that, consumers are now making good decisions. So when they're picking a builder, they are picking the right business who has done the right thing. They're managing their numbers well. When you do that, you lift industry standard, you lift performance, and you reduce some of these, I call it fringe issues, which can create quite a significant impact to our communities.
Yeah. And taking a positive approach here, right? This is not about the name and shame of people who've done it bad. It's about making it really clear that if you're choosing this master builder that has done a great job, have always delivered, that it's very clear at an independent level that they are that person.
And it's interesting. Somebody asked me when I was doing one of the media interviews, look, if you choose a master builders, the Phoenix company issue disappears. Right? Because master builders, we manage all of that. We check all of that. So if consumers go out and choose a master builder, you are picking the best builders. None of the Phoenix issue, understand. But we also want to make sure as master builders that as we are lifting standards, the industry is lifting standards too. The smaller builders, which master builders may subcontract out and other sub-trades. So Phoenix company is probably less about master builders. It's more about lifting the standard of the whole of building and construction, which is good for us and it's good for consumers, and it's good for New Zealand.
Fantastic. And on that same playing field, you announced that Constructive this year that you're also trying to bring some more transparency to master builders. Can you just tell us how that kind of segues in?
Yeah, so the concept behind FiNZscore, which is the initiative we have launched with CreditWorks, was how do we, so the conversation I've been having with CreditWorks is we almost seem to penalize bad behavior. As an industry, as regulation, we don't seem to incentivize good behavior. So is there a way for us to, majority of the master builders run great businesses, they run good financials. So instead of, working with businesses who are struggling, whether it's master builders or outside of master builder family, maybe there's a way for us to, incentivize good performance. So that's how the concept of FiNZscore came in. So this is a system which is voluntary system. So master builders can go and provide their financials to CreditWorks, and they've got a rating mechanisms. Confidentially, they will look at your financials, they'll give you a rating of A, B, C, D, or E. And then you as a builder can choose to publish your rating. And what that does is builders who got rating of A or B, effectively what they're saying to everybody else, our financials have been validated and reviewed by an external credible organization, and we are running our business to a very high standard. And what we think will happen is once we do that, insurers and lenders will start offering better deals to these builders, and consumers will start picking builders who are actually running good businesses. So that was kind of the concept. So, we've launched FiNZscore, and one of the very large lender reached out to me proactively, took me out for coffee, and they said, we love this idea of FiNZscore. We want to launch this initiative, which will make lending easier for master builders, provided they get a score of a certain amount. So we're working through that, and that announcement will come out next year. I have a feeling with some of the conversations we're having with insurers, that they will start getting better insurance rates, and consumers eventually will start picking it. So I think it's quite a fundamental shift. We've never done anything like this in New Zealand. So it will probably won't show significant results in 1 or 2 years. But if we could do this, this is saying let's incentivize good businesses. Let's celebrate a lot of master builders who do great job, run great businesses. Let's find a way to highlight that. Let's find a way to incentivize them on doing the right thing. And when you do that, everybody else start lifting their standard. So I'm very excited about FiNZscore. I think it's got a lot of potential based on how many conversations we are already having around different organizations which are recognizing this as quite a credible thing. It could be something quite significant for our industry.
Indeed. And it's amazing how our society has evolved. I think most of us now, when we travel to a new city and we're looking for a restaurant to go to, the first thing we do is jump on Google reviews and find out whether it's a, 4 or 5 star or a 1 star. And this is like bringing some formality to that in our construction environment, right? I think it's such a great initiative, and it's what consumers are getting used to is transparency around how people perform. And yeah, that independent verification is really powerful. Great work, Master Builders, in getting that initiative up and running.
Thank you.
Ankit, I want to do an actual personal shout out to you here. Your Rethink 4.0 newsletter that you post on LinkedIn is always a good read. I get hundreds of newsletters every month, and there's really only 2 or 3 that I take the time to read, and yours is one of them. I really appreciate the thought that you put into that. And so, firstly, I would say to any of our listeners that are not subscribed to your newsletter, jump on LinkedIn and subscribe to your newsletter, and we can put a link to that in the show notes to make it nice and easy to find. But your most recent newsletter, you talked about the power of saying no. So my first question: what prompted that, and why do you think saying no is so important to leaders right now?
So everything in Rethink is what's happening around me. So something will be happening at work or something around, and I'll start thinking about it. And if there's a solution we put in place which works, I write about it. And the thinking behind Rethink is if 1 or 2 people get impacted by it and they end up making better decisions or make their work life better, then it's achieving the objective it's achieving. So it started 3 years back. And so these are real life.
We're at least 50% of the way there, because it's impacting me. So we only need one more person and your job is done.
Exactly. So the reason behind this is I'm telling my team to learn to say no. We can't say yes to everything. So at work, there's just so much we want to do in 2026. And I'm saying, well, if you try to do everything, you do nothing. We really need to find a way to work out what are the things we need to say yes to, which will make a real impact, and then to find the headspace to work on those things. And to do that, you have to say no. Now, no is hard. So for me, no is very hard. I'm a naturally yes person. I like people to like me. I want to say yes to everything. But what that does is it actually stifles progress. So I think this article is actually saying that you have to say yes for the right stuff. And to say yes for the right stuff, you have to say no to a lot of stuff. And if you can find a way to do that, you create headspace to make real progress.
Okay. One of the things you highlighted as a really good example in your newsletter was when Steve Jobs came back to Apple after he'd been fired the first time around. He put a hold on the iMac G3. Can you tell us what that was about, and what's the kind of like relevant example for construction?
Well, Apple did not have a talent problem when Steve Jobs came back to Apple, but they were really struggling. They were about to go under. And I think he came back and he explained that Apple didn't have a talent problem. Apple had a focus problem. It had too many products, it had too many priorities, it had too many cool ideas. And he then cut 70% of what Apple was doing, and he focused the entire company on 30% of what he thought really mattered. And what that did was that created clarity and also created focus for the organization to do those 30% things really, really well. And some of the most amazing innovation which Apple has came out of that thinking. And I think the lesson we take as business owners is most of business owners, if you're in a business, you're an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, you always have good ideas. You want to do more. So I don't think we as business owners suffer from lack of ideas. I think we struggle with too many competing demands on our time, and we just don't have enough time to do what we need to do. And I think the lesson from that is it's good to have too many cool ideas, but we need to learn to have discipline to say no and pick the key things which will change our dial, which will make the biggest impact. And if you can do that, I think you increase your probability to make progress and increase your probability to get good success.
Absolutely, and that's backed not only by experience from us all, but also in the research, how much your goal completion diminishes after you have more than 3 key goals. It's just wild.
Exactly.
Okay. What are some kind of like practical strategies or tips that our leaders, our members could use around this?
Well, these are mine 4. I will give you. One is what you just said, identify top 2 or 3 things. I say 2, at the most 3. Outside of 3, you just get too confused. So find 2 or 3 things you want to focus on. Second, protect your time for high impact work. So I block out time in my diary. every day. I call them focus times. And those are the times I focus on things I need to focus on. It's an hour. It could be an hour. Some days it's 2 hours. So you got to create time. You have to protect your time. Say no clearly and respectfully. So I've learned to say no very respectfully. So instead of saying, I don't have time to do this, you say, look, thank you for thinking of me. I'm in the middle of something. I don't have time to give it the amount of focus it's needs. So you can find your own ways to say no, and you can say no respectfully. It's not that when you say no, you'll offend someone. And the fourth one is to create a not to do list. So I have a not to do list. These are the things which distract you. And so if you can do these four things, from my personal experience, it helps you to say no to things which are not important and start focusing on things which make a real impact.
I'm particularly interested in this not to do list. It sounds like a fun list to have.
It is.
How do you use a not to do list?
Well, not the way I think about it. These are the things which really distract you. These are I call your sins, or these are your weakling, right? So it's like, having a muffin with a coffee. Some people say, I just cannot stop having a muffin with my coffee. That's kind of my thing which I can't manage. So I look at what are the things which tend to pull you off the track from what you need to do. And I tend to write them down. When you write them down I use my notes app on my iPhone to write them down. And just the process of writing them down, for me at least, I seem to remember them and work on it. So common ones for leaders will be things like admin they shouldn't be doing themselves. That should be on your not to do list. Meetings that don't lead to decisions. Constant firefighting, so that crowds out your thinking time. So, think about the things which pulls you away from the stuff you need to do. I have currently 2 things on my not to do list, and I very diligently make sure that I don't do them. So one is having meetings for the sake of it. So I could actually spend all my time just doing meetings and doing nothing.
Sure.
So I am very focused on outcomes. If I have a meeting, I'm very clear in my mind, there's an outcome I want, and I don't have a meeting 5 minutes more than it needs to be. So that's kind of one, a meeting for the sake of it. My second not to do list is getting involved in issues or activities that my team can manage without me. So I ask myself a question, do I need to do this? Is there somebody in my organization who can do this? If somebody in my organization can do this, I will be 100% delegating. And by doing that, it's a leap of faith. You're trusting somebody to do it. And sometimes we don't trust them to do a good job, but that creates headspace for you as a leader, for me as a leader, to focus on the stuff where I need to bring my value in instead of getting involved in everything. So those are kind of my not to do list, but everybody knows. So I think something like this is a good tool to focus yourself on the right stuff.
Indeed. Ankit, I had a really interesting example shared with me. Ariana Huffington Post fame. She was talking about being in a zone of her life where she was just wildly overworked, and one of the key things was very much that initiative of delegating to her team. And of course, one of the challenges we face around delegation is, will they do it as well as I can? And Ariana Huffington's rule was, if someone can do it 60% as well as she can do it, she delegates it.
Yeah.
And, I think it's a great rule for us to not go, they won't do it as well as me, but they won't get it maybe done as well as me, but this will get an opportunity for them to grow. Actually, it helps elevate the next person in the organization, all those kind of things as well.
Great point.
Okay, I love those. I realize that some people might be listening to the podcast, driving, walking, etc. So we'll make sure we put the link to your full newsletter in there so people can subscribe, and also just a few of those top tips so they can reference them really, really quickly. As we wrap the year, Ankit, what message would you like to send to our wonderful Master Builders members as they head into the holiday season?
My first message will be, I think the comment you made, I hope you're getting on the beast to get some time to reflect, because I think it's important to take some time off and recharge. It's been a big year for the industry. So I would like to thank our members for the quality they deliver and the passion they have for the industry, and the commitment and passion they have for their customers. To make sure you take some time to reset and recharge, make sure you spend your time to family. I always say, why do we work? We work so we can provide for our families. I think that the core purpose is to make sure we spend time with our loved ones. So I hope our master builders will enjoy their time with friends and family, and have safe and happy holidays. And I hope that together we look forward to a very good year ahead in 2026.
Thanks, Ankit, and I would absolutely echo those sentiments. Personal thank you to you for being on the podcast during the year. I think it's such a wonderful way for us to communicate with our members and keep understanding of all the work that Master Builder is doing in the background. So thank you for doing that. Wishing you also a fantastic holiday season, and I'm sure you'll take that time to reset. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Rad.